Hey kids, you're about to listen to a comedy podcast. That means that none of this is medical advice. If you need medical advice or medical care, please contact your doctor.
Welcome to the Jock podcast featuring Dr. London Smith, the world's sportiest doctor man. Introducing the Jock Doctor himself, Dr. London Sportyman Smith. Sports!
Hello, and welcome to the Jock podcast, where we discuss fitness and health, and how to incorporate our modern understanding of science and medicine into our daily lives, but without it being so boring. I'm your host, Dr. LondonSmith.com. I'd like to begin by apologizing to our listeners. We've received some feedback about the excessive amount of technical medical terms that I've been using, such as hyponatremia and epoxy lips, so I'll try to temper my terminology to a simpler one in the future. Here to help with that is our producer, Cameron.
Hey, Dr. London, you're looking pretty sporty today.
Thank you. You noticed.
Underneath your lab coat, you're wearing sort of like an Under Armour workout tank.
Yeah, well, it's part of my resolutions for...
Well, I was thinking, since you've been sort of sporty, I know we're sort of a week late to this. Last week, we released our kind of Valentine's Day-ish episode, so it was special. But last weekend was also the Super Bowl. And oh my gosh, can you believe the team that won the Super Bowl?
Yes,
I really thought the team that lost was going to win, but actually the team that won ended up winning.
Yes.
Okay, I know that they like there was a big whole debacle over it, at least in my friend group, where we thought, no way.
There's no way the team that won is going to win, and then sure enough, they ended up winning.
Yeah.
But it reminded me the whole time while I was watching that bowl of super, it reminded me of your football days as a young quarterback, Dr. London, back in medical school. Yeah.
Well, I got recruited. I actually, was on a football scholarship in medical school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, they unfortunately, I'm a lot smaller than the other medical school football players, is what I found out. So a lot of
and they didn't realize that either until after they'd given you the scholarship.
Yeah.
You had sent a lot of misleading pictures and videos, sort of like Lord of the Rings Hobbit style, where they would put Elijah Wood next to a giant table to make him look super small. It was sort of like that. You were standing next to very tiny tables, miniatures.
I mean, it was mostly just me cropped into a scene from The Hobbit or from Lord of the Rings with the hobbits.
Towering over them, yeah.
Yeah. So, I cropped out Gandalf and put myself in there. And people say, you shouldn't be dishonest to sort of get into schools, but, we need more doctors.
Well, and what if you're going to liar school? You have to be dishonest if you're trying to go to liar school. So people who say stuff like that don't know what they're talking about. Sorry, it's not the real world.
Yeah, just once you live in reality for a second, you learn that, I really have to adapt.
Yeah. Fib Academy,
your alma mater. Yeah.
If you want to get into Fib Academy, then
which you did and you excelled.
Yes, and your application has to be full of claims of going to space and going to the core of the earth, and maybe also sort of taking over a country.
Yeah, which, I mean, the only failing point I think you made in yours, if I remember you telling me about it correctly, was that you actually took over a country. So it turned your lie into the truth.
Yeah, unfortunately. And that's actually how I got expelled, was that I had made one of my previous lies into a reality, which is the one thing you're not allowed to do at Fib College.
Yeah,
Fib University. Now, but do you want to maybe talk about, I know this is a hard subject for you, but how your days of being a medical school quarterback came to an end? That one fateful day?
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about it. I feel like that's so far in the past.
It's an important part of your past, and it's a way for the listeners to learn more about you.
Okay, so I was playing a game. And, this is part of, if you play sports in med school, it can be dangerous, and people know that, when I went to school, and this is very real, whoever played on one of the sports teams, usually at least one person would be out of medical school that semester from their injuries. I knew this going into it. This is a real thing. And so I was playing football, And just to clarify, this is football as in the everywhere except America version. This is kicking a soccer ball, football.
Yeah,
but yeah,
just
so I was
like
the quarterback.
Super Bowl.
I was the quarterback for my soccer team. But yes, we called it football. And I ran up to the ball, and a guy picked me up and bent me in half.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I crunched a little, and
unfortunately. Okay. Are you gonna stop at he bent you in half? He rolled you up into a ball.
Yes.
And he dribbled you around the soccer field.
He
like
loosened me up first with the halving, and then
he bowled you into the goal, and you knocked over your own goalie like a bowling ball.
Yeah, and unfortunately did go into the net, and it was frustrating. He got called a foul though. I liked that. Like it was actually
he did. Yeah, that's in. He got a yellow card.
Yes.
Yeah.
He got. Look, I never fouled, and even if I did, it didn't matter because I don't have to know the foul rules. I have to know the doing good rules to play.
See ball kick.
Uh-huh.
That's your job as, a scholarship student in football, as as the quarterback on your football team.
My football team. Yes. But yes, that is how it ended, and I'm not it's my career kind of went. I had to kind of go to my fallback career, which was being a doctor. Unfortunately, I was in medical school. So.
And this is one of the dangerous aspects of contact sports, Dr. London, is these sports, people talk about CTE, but you also have to worry about these huge men picking you up and then sort of breaking you in half, rolling you up into a little ball, bouncing you around like a basketball, and then bowling you into your own goalie, one of your closest friends. And knocking him over like a bowling pin.
Yeah, we got closer from that experience, though. I just
until he succumbed to his injuries, yeah. But yeah, while he was in the hospital, still trying to breathe, still trying to make it, you guys did become pretty close.
So that's our producer Cameron. Also with us is Digital in the House.
The last weekend was the Super Bowl, and oh my gosh, can you believe the team that won the Super Bowl? I really thought the team that lost was going to win, but actually the team that won ended up winning the Super Bowl. Can you believe the team that won the Super Bowl?
So I know they there was a big whole debacle over it, at least in my friend group, where we thought, no way.
There's no way the team that won is going to win, and then, sure enough, they ended up winning.
Yeah.
I really thought the team that lost was going to win. Well, I was watching that bowl of Super. Well, I was watching that Super Bowl. Well, I was watching that Super Bowl. Well, I was watching that Super Bowl. Watching that. Oh, super. I really thought the team that lost was going to win. I really thought the team that lost was going to win. Well, I was watching that bowl of Super. I really thought the team that lost was going to win.
And later, Cameron tells me that we can expect a very, very special guest.
Yep. We have a real guest, and we have booked someone. And I definitely did not accidentally book a guy who stole all my NFTs. But I know we have a real guest, like an actual guest who's going to show up.
Yeah, I feel like that extra explanation didn't even so we have a
It didn't even make
guest.
sense. I mean, this is a podcast, Dr. Lennon. People, you just banter.
Okay, that was okay.
Yeah, just riff. Oh, I love riffing. Just
Yeah.
riffing around.
Yeah, sailing, paddling
But
to
yeah,
the river.
We definitely have a real guest booked today.
Okay, so look forward to that. Before we move on, I would like to address a bit of listener feedback. As our marketing demographics have changed to a slightly less literate consumer base, the nature of the feedback.
We ran the numbers and we found out that most of the people filling the survey of our listeners were writing in just sort of list of animals, just like 3-letter words. It was like cat, dog, and
which is a lot of progress. They've been doing a lot better.
Yeah. But I don't trust that were able to, read the questions properly, because it would ask like marital status and they would write shoe.
Mm-hmm. Which,
and
once again, to remember the E on the end, a lot of them remember the E on the end.
Yeah. And again, way better than last year for sure.
Oh, it's so much better.
But still, the literacy in our listenership is not great. But guys, we love you, and we love that you guys try, and you just got to keep doing your homework.
We're working towards K5 level. Hopefully, we'll get to that, third year medical student level again. But we gotta. In any case, so this week's feedback actually comes from so we had all the submissions, and one of them was a hand drawn picture. So this it appears to be it's a drawing of 2 sets of sort of bumpy ridges with a little tower. Maybe a mountain in the middle of each.
Oh, okay. And there's 2 of them?
Yeah, and they're attached to longer things as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it sort of looks like a bunch of ridges with the tower thing in the middle.
Yeah. So
you had said.
Yeah. So it's one thing I want to make clear, because I don't know if people realize this, and especially for our listeners. So there's a certain symbol that you can make with your hands where all of your fingers are in a fist, except for one of them in the middle. And so that's a bad symbol to make with your hand. We try to avoid using that symbol. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not a good symbol to use. That means something with your hand. That's a mean thing to say with your hand.
And that's not how you spell things. I know you've probably heard of sign language, and since you haven't grasped normal language yet, things are sort of confusing to you. Things get jumbled around in your brain, and you think, oh, is this sign language? Is this the letter I? Oh, no, it's not. It's actually, it's a bad word.
Yeah, and we try not to use bad words on this show. You can use it, on the subway or whatever, on the road whenever someone cuts you off.
You can use it at your own home. Again, I want to reiterate, our demographic now, according to the numbers, shifted over in the last few weeks entirely to people between the ages of 45 and 55. If you are listening to this, you are between the ages of 45 and 55. Your parents have been lying to you if you believe otherwise.
And possibly, and I don't want to say, sound conspiratorial here, but also the government might have lied to you. So if you have a government issued ID and it says anything besides you being 45,
they can't read.
Right.
They can't read.
You're right. That.
So they pull out the ID,
stupid. And they just try to
unless
eat
it says cat, dog, shoe. Yeah. Oh, and they're just definitely going to try to eat it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess we can leave it there. I don't know what else really to do with that. But thank you for listening to these faithful listeners. Now for today's medical topic: small intestine bacterial overgrowth. Small intestine bacterial overgrowth is a condition that results from the progressive dilation of the small bowel as the body's adaptation to resection. So in other words, part of the intestinal tract has been surgically removed, and the intestinal tract in that area widens in its attempt to adjust. So normally the small bowel is sterile, but the small intestine bacterial overgrowth in these patients, that surgery has resulted in the loss of the ileocecal valve. So that valve normally keeps that sterility, but the loss of this valve between the small and large intestine allows the bacteria to come in. Clinically, these patients who have small intestine bacterial overgrowth present with a history of small intestine surgical resection and symptoms of flatulence, bloating, diarrhea, and steatorrhea.
That was what this was about. You were waiting to get to the farty poop point. I was waiting for it. This is all you've talked about for like 5 months now. Is farty stuff, poopy stuff, gassy
and
stuff.
The steatorrhea.
And I knew you were just waiting.
Which is the fatty, oily poop. Yeah.
Ugh.
So
this is all you care about now. Is this the kind of doctor you're like a poop doctor now? Have you shifted careers?
It's one of these things where, I mean, for instance, if you weren't a poop doctor, then if you could recognize these symptoms, then you could say, this is not the patient for me. I want to send this patient somewhere else, and you know where to send them.
To you. This is you trying to get more patients? Of course it is. I guess I should have known that. Even when you start injecting poop and diarrhea and farts and stuff into our podcast, it's all a ploy to make you an extra buck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't make it so diagnosis of small intestine bacterial overgrowth is with...
Go ahead, keep going. This is what you
want. With a small bowel aspirate followed by quantitative cultures. Treatment is with antibiotics, beginning with rifaximin. And you know what? Let's just end it there. We can end it there. It's fine. It's fine.
Is that earned you like 5 patients? Is that paying for your next jet ski?
Yes, it is. But we don't have to. I don't want to make it a whole pointed thing.
Okay, well, you know what you should make a thing? Actually, using the jet skis you already have.
No, it's not about that. It's about status.
I know. You just put it in a garage. You're like, this is just my collection.
Yeah, or I take them all out on the lake at once, and I'm just sitting there trying to corral them all together. I get what
you're
the
not
problem
on
with.
any of them.
Well, no, I'm on a little raft because I don't trust them. They're too motory. They keep making noises. But
yeah, you hate them so much, but you must purchase them. It's just
status.
such a.
Can we move on from there?
The struggle of status. Sure.
All right, Cameron, you said that we have a guest today. Is that right?
Okay. I guess we've got to this. I was hoping something would happen by this point, like someone would show up or something. But Dr. London, there's no guest.
So whoever you were saying had stolen your NFTs.
Yeah.
That was just some hypothetical thing that, where did that come from?
Well, that was the person I had gotten as the guest in exchange for some of my NFTs. I got one of Scooby-Doo, and he's sort of spinning around.
Oh, hold on.
What?
Do you see? There is a guest here. What? And you said you didn't book a guest.
Surprise!
I didn't book a guest. Oh no, it's a surprise.
It is a surprise. It was me all along, Inspector Bort Sampson from the Podcast Association Bureau. I posed as your guest so I can come here for your yearly safety mandate. Ha ha ha.
Oh,
dang it.
Let's say there's been some malarkey going on over here at the Jock podcast that we've been taking good keeping from. Specifically, we're here to really examine the producer role, and Cam, not looking so good for you.
Let me try to catch up here just real quick. So things did sort of work out like they always do, Dr. London. Yes, my guest scammed me, took my NFTs. One was Scooby-Doo spinning around. One was a Fred. And, but I believed that a guest would show up, Dr. London. And they did.
That's you.
Now,
that's you catching us up?
This is me catching myself up. Now, in an ironic monkey paw twist. You're what? You're harassing me?
Harassing? I'm the inspector.
Oh no.
I am the inspector of the Podcast Association Bureau. Similar to some people have in other industries, like in OSHA. I go to every
Sure.
single podcast and I have to give my safety inspection. Well, the truth is, we've gotten quite a lot of complaints over at our end at corporate, so decided to. The only way to get on the show, which I've tried frequently, but I was denied entry, Dr. London. So I used my.
We're very strict on who gets on.
Let's just say I used my bag of tricks, and don't worry, I will definitely not make a screenshot your NFT. Wink.
No, they're supposed to be non-fungible. My tokens.
It's so.
One is of Scooby-Doo, and he's spinning around. One is of Fred, and then one is of Velma, and she's looking for her glasses.
Classic. Well, so one of the very first, complaints that came to my desk over at the Bureau was actually about you, Cam. It appears that you have falsified information of your producing credentials and degree. We have it on record that you went to a FIB university, and we can't find any record of the existence of FIB. Can you care to explain?
That's so their office, their front office is very unorganized. So who did you talk to? Who did you talk to over there and like their?
Oh yes. I believe her name was Kenya Smith.
Oh yeah, she's new. So you're not gonna. She's terrible at finding records of my degrees and stuff. So
wait, sorry, Cameron, is this part of the FIB thing? Is she actually really good at finding?
If I were to tell you
records?
that, I would lose the degree that I have.
But it's a very prestigious university, but we're not able to find a single record, which did lead me to question. Maybe you are that good. Were you that good at fibbing? But after looking through all the records and talking to Kenya Smith and all those wonderful people at the FIB University down there in Texas, couldn't find your record anywhere. So that's
yeah. That sounds exactly like them. They're so
That does sound like FIB
unorganized.
University.
Yep. So now that we've got that settled, we're all good, right?
No such thing. So first off, we don't have a degree.
Would they have fibbed about Cameron's degree?
Well,
is that possible?
No, I mean they're pretty straightforward. Like they don't like playing games. That's a big part of the school is they don't like games.
Yeah, I would think FIB University would be the most of truth telling. Kenya actually promised me this information that she actually recently won a truth telling contest 2 towns over. So therefore, I have to believe her.
Yeah.
Like, why would someone from FIB University lie to me?
And she'll give you half the prize, but she just needs about $5,000 to get started, just to cover the shipping costs.
Yeah, actually, you know what's funny? That's actually she introduced me to NFTs.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. NFT culture is huge in FIB University.
Yeah, so it's a real problem that we're seeing here at the Bureau, that you're lying about your producing credits. Second off, you go by the name Producer Cam, but when you are on the internet, it says Cam Alex. So is that your OnlyFans name? Is there a mistake? We're all just a little confused.
Oh, okay.
I thought your first name was Producer.
So my legal name now, after we had started the podcast, I had changed to, of course, Producer Cameron, which is now my middle name.
Yeah.
But Cam Alex, so Alex was my attached twin. It was really more of a set of teeth and eyebrows that had sort of become a cyst on my neck. But that was Alex, and so we had started the social media accounts and stuff together. So that's why my Twitter is Cam Alex. It's me and my buddy Alex, my attached twin that I killed and then consumed in utero.
I just feel like it's a little hurtful. We thought your name was Cam and Cam Alex, but it's actually Cam. I think that's some information that you could be upfront with your audience about. So that's another strike against you. You're lied to.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I guess that is a lie of omission to not let people know. But yeah, no. For a long time, I was known as Cam Alex because people, when they would see me, they would talk to me and they would talk to my cis twin brother. And they would say, "Hi, Cam Alex."
Fascinating. Now, is that similar to when people say they live in Boston, but they really live in the suburbs?
I've never met anyone who's ever been to or even heard of Boston, unfortunately.
It's a new city. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean...
Boston, Texas. It's a lovely little town.
I've heard it's imported, and I've heard it stinks to high heavens, and I've heard it's terrible.
Yes, it's right next to Plano, Texas. They just imported it from the Northeast. And it's funny. I think Fib University is thinking of opening a campus there as well.
Oh, that would be so nice. Maybe I could teach. Maybe I could have a...
I think you need a degree.
I do have a degree. The front office has been really messy, and Kenya is obviously new. And also, I mean, you haven't even given her the $5,000 to get started for the shipping for
That's
her
true.
prize.
Hey, Dr. London, a side note, can I borrow $5,000 for no reason? You're a doctor. You must have doctor money.
Technically, you could, but not from me. It's really tied up right now. We're not liquid. We are heavily invested in this new demographic, and unfortunately, a lot of my pay does. I don't even get the direct deposit to my account anymore. It does go straight into the Patreon, and I occasionally get access to that Patreon, so it's really exciting for me to watch and listen to our recordings.
The thing is that, usually bots on social media sites that we have to pay for, it's the one-time payment. But to buy Patreon listeners, they've got to be able to afford $5 a month, and we're funding all of that because it's us. It's all fake. All of our Patreon listeners, all of our listeners are us,
and we have to listen to so many episodes.
The Patreon thing has sort of been a huge mistake, just because I'm losing all my money pretending to be these listeners. $5 a month
because you have to leave the comments. You have to leave all the comments. You have to be like, oh wow, this one was great, or this one sucked.
Well, and they gotta
and you're trying to be fair.
They gotta pay. It's not, the commenting is free. It's really more of that having to pay $5 a month for the Patreon.
Yeah,
3,000 times is the issue.
Well, because we're paying for it, but we also have to hire a team of people to make the comments on it and make it look like a community.
They are really expensive.
Fellas.
Yeah. And I'm sorry.
I gotta say, I feel where you're coming from. Recently over at the PAB, they switched all of our paychecks to crypto. I've yet to see a penny, but I'm told that I'm very, very wealthy. Same thing, very liquid. But that doesn't let you off there. We're still not off the hook with you, Cam, if that's your real name.
One thing, Mr. Inspector, what is your name, or do you go by?
Inspector Bort Sampson. That is Bort.
Bort. Oh, okay.
Yes, I assure you there are plenty of Borts.
Really popular. Yeah.
Very popular.
It's a very popular name.
Well, yeah, everyone's, I think most of my friends have named, a lot of people are getting pregnant right now, and they're all thinking.
Yeah. Anytime I look for a Bort personalized license plate, they're out completely.
You can't find them anywhere. It's just this, Bort's to the left of me, Bort's to the right of me. We're Borty kind of guys. And I've been with the Bureau for about the last 15 years, about right around the time podcasts actually started to begin, and we have found so many cases of fraudulent producers, faking their degrees, just trying to find a way to be cool and come hang out with cool doctors on a podcast. And quite honestly, that's what we're kind of suspecting here, that Cam has been lying to you this entire time. I hope that you're not giving him too much money, but I don't know if he actually produces.
Hold on.
You have to prove anything.
I have some questions on that note. Okay, because there are some things that I thought were suspicious, and I want to know from this independent association whether these are standard or not. Okay, so
in which they all are, which I've told you.
Yeah, so producer Cameron has replaced the wiring all throughout the studio with links of Vienna sausages.
Classic.
And he said they're a better conductor of the meat sounds that we make.
Mm-hmm.
It's that really
and
thick,
is that true?
That really thick, meaty sound you sort of need.
Well, because he said I sounded so thin and frail.
It's true. Let me elaborate just a little elaboration on that. What's the pound of the meat? How much per pound of meat are we talking for that Vienna sausage?
How much per pound? I'd say it's $6 per pound.
$6 a pound of Vienna sausage for that copper wiring. Dr. London, I hate to say this, but I think producer Cam might have taken the copper wiring and sold it for said sausage. I think. Have you ever even listened to your podcast? Do you understand how hard it was for me to even find an episode? Very few of them have actually made it to the internet.
It's super. It's super easy to find. All you have to do is you go to dailymotion.com and you look up Oscar's fails, like Oscar speech fails, And then when you go to the
Right.
Oscar speech fails, there'll be a playlist, and then that has all of our podcast episodes.
Not in order and not together, but like it's one of those things where you have to go by the recommended video later.
Yeah, we're working
At the
with
bottom.
the Daily Motion team to try to get all the episodes in order. Yes.
Yeah, I found that. I did find it through there. I did find one of your first episodes you put out through the Enron company. I thought that was a really noble choice of you to invest with them rather than.
It was through their company newsletter. Their monthly newsletter was where we released the first probably 30 episodes of this podcast are in the Enron company newsletter. And is that an
they're
issue?
supposed to be really-
Like, I don't understand what.
Well, they're in the news, right?
Yeah.
Or they were. So like we've been investing pretty heavily in them.
No-
Just like I keep hearing about them.
uploading your videos to Dailymotion and sending them out as a newsletter for a failed company. These are not illegal things. These are fine.
Well, one of the other odd things I found is that your main social media promotion has been Vine, another stellar website that no longer exists. So where is the money going, Producer Cam, if that's your real name?
The Vine money. Well, the Vine, I think maybe you misunderstood. That's for like vines of fruit.
Vinyl?
Yeah.
Vines of fruit. Wait, which?
Because you know
I'm
all
sorry.
that fruit you have, Dr. London? That's where all that money is going, the Vine money.
Oh, you mean the crypto?
Yes.
Oh boy, another rock has been unturned here, folks. We're really afraid that you're defrauding the shareholders of your Patreon at this point.
I really don't think I don't think we need to invest in any. And Vine,
no, it's
just
Dylan Coin.
It's Vine. Okay. You don't need to poke any holes into Dylan Coin. Do I need to explain Dylan Coin?
Would you?
I think we all will need an explanation of Dylan Coin, please.
Well, Dylan Coin is DJ Dylan's own crypto coin that we've talked about a bit on this show. It looks, feels like, tastes like, and weighs the same amount
and biodegrades
at the same rate as a pineapple. But DJ Dylan, we have been converting a lot of the funds of this podcast into Dylan Coin. DJ Dylan keeps talking about how it's going to the moon. He said that the moon is up in the sky, and that's where these pineapples are going to go. He said it's a crypto thing, and I wouldn't understand it. I'm not really like a crypto guy.
And to his credit, I don't understand. So,
and look, okay,
helps.
I'll confess.
That's not helping.
I'm going to confess. The Vine money, yes, it was for the social media company. It wasn't for fruit, but it was to invest it in Dylan coins, which are basically fruit.
Wow, we're gonna have to kind of dig a little deeper into these financial records. I am hoping you have your assets separate, because Dr. London, I would hate to see you lose your medical license over the fraud.
Oh, there's no way his assets are separate. Yeah, there's absolutely no way.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's direct deposit into. Is it the Patreon, Cameron, or is it something else?
No, it's a Malaysian website that operates the bots that pretends to be the listeners for our Patreon. That's where your check kind of goes straight to.
Okay,
Well, as long as it's
that's
Malaysian,
simpler than I was thinking. Okay,
that does
good.
seem to check out. So I'm glad there's
that's a
not too
relief.
much. There's some other discrepancies within here. It also said in our record we found at the age of 6, you grabbed your household cat by the legs and used it as a vacuum.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, okay. Phew.
Yeah, that was a Dr. London thing, and that has less to do with it being a pet or animal cruelty and more to Dr. London for years has tried to turn everything into a vacuum. He'll see a stick and say, "Oh, this is a vacuum now."
And
he
works
still
sometimes.
does this to his day. Like you'll find, I don't know, a blanket, and you'll say, "This is a vacuum now," and you just kind of like go.
I tried it once with an elephant and it worked. So I'm like, now I'm thinking it's gotta work again. So I try it with every animal I find. And I'll admit now, it's not always, especially with the elephant, it is not always a good idea to try to lift up the back legs. That part.
Yeah. Now,
part I have.
Is it true?
I thought when you mentioned Dr. London, grabbing the legs of his pets, I thought you were talking about when he would like tie them up and hang them up and leave them there for days and days. But that doesn't seem to be of concern.
Oh, that seems fine
to you. It's just the vacuum.
Well, a real
Gotcha.
concern here at the PAB is we're looking for people who watched episodes of the Flintstones and thought that they could take animals to use as the same tools. And it appears like looking through what we thought was your record, Cam, that you had done that with your cat. And at one point, it looks like you had hid your dog underneath the sink to replace the garbage disposal. Or unless that was also you, Dr. London.
Dr. London was my garbage disposal for a little bit.
Yeah.
That was just, you were just wanting some extra money.
Well, and the dog wasn't doing a good job. The dog was terrible at it. So I had to take over.
Was that consensual?
Yeah. I want to say now, I don't think the dog should be punished for my mistakes.
Yes, I think we should stop punishing the dog. Like, I'm kind of tired of tying up the dog by its legs and leaving him there for days. I think it's kind of cruel. I don't know why this is a big part. You say this is a big part of medicine.
Well, and the doctor, I'll admit that the doctor has done a poor job of vacuuming whenever we do that as well. So it's like, I thought you could leave it and come back and it would just be done. But it really, I've gotten a different impression over time.
But yes, okay, look, are we using animals as objects like in the Flintstones? Sure. Am I using my cat as my razor? And that's how I trim my beard and trim my hair. Yeah, absolutely.
How did you get to work this morning? Did you use an automobile or did you use a Tiger? Because we have reports that you were seen around town riding a Tiger to Boston, Texas.
Okay. So this, I can see the confusion here, but committing to the Flintstones lifestyle that I really have, I'm not riding a
Flintstonian, yes.
I'm not riding a tiger. I have converted the body of a tiger into a sort of a car, and then you can see my little feet running on the ground because I'm propelling.
You have to watch the feet.
So it's not a tiger. Yeah. It is a tiger body that's been converted into a vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you take offense to being called the Tiger King of Texas? Would I take
offense to being called an awesome king who is powerful and has control over everyone? No, I think that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I guess what I think would be more likely to be said in response is, you're welcome, I think, if you call him that, or your highness, like...
Your highness, should we bow?
Like,
probably,
that's the preference. And this is all standard questions for a podcast inspector. I want to... Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
The most standard.
I mean, you don't have any suspicions about Dr. London here?
Well, it's actually, I'm glad you say that. One of the things we've come through in our records here at corporate, they've been kind of stamping my ass, is that you have been given what they call misinformation, and some of the viruses and diseases covered on said podcast, when they can find an episode, don't actually seem to be real viruses. Now, Dr. London, that's part of misinformation is of the level of Fox News. We're actually here to offer you, considering maybe a promotion or taking your license away. We're not sure yet. So this is
okay.
Answer carefully.
It can go one way or the other.
Okay. So I just want to clarify. They haven't been officially discovered yet. They're not. I'm not pulling from any other sources. I've been doing my own research here. I've been catching a lot of stuff, and I think some of them might be viruses. And I've been preemptively naming them just in case they turn out to be a new virus. So,
do you have some of your jars of viruses? Because, like you said, you've been catching them out in the field, and you've been catching them in the pond.
Yeah. So, let me see. Okay. Okay.
You said one was at the bank.
Yeah. What? Well, not just one, but yeah, the safety deposit box. Obviously, I keep the ones that I think will be worth the most later.
And you're saving these viruses in a jar. I hope that's locked up and stored away from children.
Yeah.
For the PAB regulations.
So I couldn't find a coaster to put on top, so I am just kind of resting it flat under this glass.
Oh yes, look at that.
But yeah.
You didn't want to invest in a jar, so it's a bunch of cups that are upside down on a table.
You know,
I see it and I go,
the virus with the viruses trapped.
Do you think you could prove to us that you have a virus there? I think it would be the best if you could actually sniff said virus, so we could all know that you're not lying to us.
Oh, you want me to go virus huffing? This is our Patreon thing on Saturdays. We do a Twitch stream, and it's kind of exclusive where I go and huff some viruses. I don't know if that's
so if you want to sign up for the Patreon, well, I don't think we have any spots open. I think they're all taken by the bots, unfortunately.
And and your Patreon is also run out of Malaysia. Well, that tracks. That seems like it would be.
Yeah, it's just the guy. He runs it all.
Yeah. Great guy as far as I know.
So you've had no concern, Producer Cam, over these years of your co-host potentially spreading misinformation and lies about viruses? Is that's a little concerning? Like, is this a concerted effort that you're trying to overthrow the United States or Canadian government? I don't know, folks. Are,
Well,
are you
okay.
working?
Not
I feel like those are.
government.
Well, I was about to say, I feel like these are two separate questions.
Hmm.
A, I know that it's not misinformation because I've seen the viruses in the jars. He showed me, and I've looked at them. And some of them are pretty cool and have cool designs on the back. And some of them have 8 legs and some have 6 legs. And it's very cool and interesting. So not misinformation. That, I believe, is just information.
Oh, is that?
And
I'm
then
sorry. Did I have it wrong?
Misinformation.
If the information is cool, then it's not misinformation. I'm sorry, that might have been on me.
Then it's just normal
Okay.
information. Yeah.
All right. I guess we can.
Now
clear
your
you on
other
that.
point of trying to overthrow the U.S. government. I think
Did you say U.S.?
there's been a
Which government?
I said,
That's
There's-
because Cameron has been trying to overthrow a lot of them, but you kept your distance from the U.S. one for a while.
I was
right?
thinking mostly the Canadian government
Okay.
was the one.
Oh, okay. All I was trying to say was that it was just a protest. I was just there on that one day in last January, like a year ago, and it was just we were just making our voice heard. Like, to say that that's trying to overthrow the government is maybe too much.
This is in
It was just
Canada.
me, that guy from Mr. Show. Yeah, this is in
It was
Canada.
it was in January in Toronto, but unfortunately, Cam, if you
Not
don't
as
mind,
much press.
if you don't want to
Yeah.
put in your earphones so I can tell this to Dr. London in privacy, Cam went to the wrong
Yeah.
country.
Yeah,
He meant to go to
and-
DC, but he went to BC, like British Columbia. But I don't want to embarrass him.
Well, no, it's the letters are confusing to him, and it's kind of one reason why we've been able to relate to this new demographic so well.
Cam, you can come
We
back.
went
producer.
to-
So you were in British Columbia
Yeah.
trying to overthrow the Canadian government, and any viruses discovered? Like, what producing was going on while you were there in British Columbia?
Well, okay, so we marched on the steps of a Tim Hortons, and after we ate a bunch of these little Timmies, me and a few of the people I had gone with, we made our voices heard. We said, hey, like, Tim Hortons is not as good as Dunkin' Donuts. It's all right, but I'm sorry, but like, we have to actually be honest about this, and we can't just sit around and hear about people talking about how it's so good.
Yeah, and I told him, like, I called him at the time and I said, like, for one thing, this is out of the country, so this is going to cost me money, this phone call. But also I said, you may want to back down a little bit because if the press gets a hold of this, there could be trouble. Fortunately, I found out later something else was happening the same day that kind of overshadowed his protest. So
Now,
that
a quick
was
question about that same day. There was also a lot of reports of protests that accidentally stopped production at many CW shows, and it turned out the protesters were there by accident. Was that you as well? Were you trying to protest our government in the wrong country on the set of The Flash and Supergirl? Again?
Yeah, I mean, they mix and mash all of those shows together, so I never know what I'm on the set
And what you're
of.
protesting?
But yeah.
well, you want to make your voice heard.
what are they eating and drinking on set? It's Tim Hortons. It's
Lil
Timbits,
Timbits.
which I now remember. It's Lil Timbies, and sorry, Dunkin's better, and I'm gonna protest it, and I'm going to overthrow the government if they don't recognize.
Honestly,
this.
no. We need to shut this down right now. Let's move on to the chores, honestly, because Cameron, if you go too far with this Tim Hortons thing, they're going to come after us.
We do need to shut it down. Agreed. We need to shut down Tim Hortons
No.
and shut down the Canadian
Okay.
government
No.
for putting all of this, just emphasis, all of this attention and funding into these Tim Hortons.
The Mounties are going to be after
But it's
us
not as good
again.
as Dunkin's.
You've been chased by Mounties before, and it's not fun. Okay? I just, chore time. Time for the chore
It's been
wheel.
kind of fun.
Chores.
You say it's not fun to be chased by the Mounties, but it's kind of fun.
It's kind of, at first.
Yeah, like they're riding after you on their mooses, and
Moist. I think it's pronounced moist.
they're riding on their
Their
moises, and
moises.
we are just sort of snowboarding down, Canadian mountains, and they can't catch us. It's
Oh,
fun.
this is good. All going in the report, fellas.
Okay. Once again, chores.
And what happens with the report, I guess? Who is this submitted to, and then what are the
Well,
consequences?
clearly,
of
I
it?
have to file my TPS report. I bring it up to, I will bring it to my immediate supervisor, who will then look it over. They will type up the transcripts and bring it to their supervisor, who will then look it over. And then from there, we go to an independent auditor to make sure the report is spelled correctly, make sure all the content makes sense. Then that will go all the way to the highest supervisor of the Podcast Association Bureau. And, you don't want to go too far there. If you, you say the wrong thing in that report, give it 1 to 5 years, and we might just think about maybe opening our investigation into you, and we are going to bring the pain, my friend. Within 5 to 10 years tops, we will going to come with you with everything you have, and you will have to issue a apology with your signature. So I think you better start getting your story straight, sir.
The worst consequence imaginable for a white podcast host. For a white male podcast host is to apologize for something that I've done wrong. You can't make me do that.
I'm sorry.
I have rights.
The hands are tied.
This is why you got to calm down on the Tim Horton stuff. You got to come down on that, and can we not just do chores?
It's just this country was built on people like me.
I know.
Middle-class white men who do not apologize.
Okay.
It's just...
Let's be done with it. We're done. And I think this inspection's done.
Yeah, and maybe you can come back in 5 to 10 years and then we can...
hash it out again.
Hash it out a little more.
And I'm bringing my pen with me to make sure I get that written apology.
Yeah, it is weird you didn't bring a pen. You've been taking notes, but you've just been putting your finger on your paper quite a bit.
Well, yeah, I've been writing in blood, obviously. It's the best way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then why bring... Oh.
Have you ever seen dried blood on a piece of paper? It's
beautiful. Very metal looking, like very gothic and cool.
Very metal. Absolutely.
So...
Well, it saves me so much on lead pencils,
Oh, yeah. And that's why I put blood in my paint, too, is to sort of save on lead. That way I can use my lead for other uses.
X-rays and everything, yeah.
You know what we could do? Paint houses with that.
Oh.
We'll save so much money.
Yeah. I think it would, actually make us money. Because, again, it's very metal. And so imagine how metal it would be to have a bunch of blood on your walls. And I think we'd be hired.
A metal house with painted lead. But see, I'm supposed to be putting the report together and not be getting into your cons and your
I'm just saying,
scams.
do you want to quit your job and maybe start... I have a bunch of companies. You want to start maybe a blood painting company and maybe... You don't think Glenn Danzig would be obsessed with that?
I think Glenn Danzig and Morrissey would be our first 2 customers.
I hate to butt in here, but I feel like
I have a job to do.
Is that the job?
Well,
to start.
Not anymore, apparently. Okay. See, this is why your cam needs to have a PhD. He's a bit of a trickster. I come in here to inspect, and now I'm about to invest. I need to stay the course and finish my report to the PAB. And within 10 years, I think we're getting an apology.
I simply suggested painting Glenn Danzig's wall with blood, and then you considered quitting your job. That is not me tricking you.
That sounds like some master manipulation to Mr. Cameron.
So
I'm trying to be as upfront as possible here, but
so part of my understanding of the podcaster's job is to do the podcast chores, and we've been putting it off for 10 minutes now, and it's just we have to unless I'm wrong. Bort,
it's in the rules.
We have to do it.
What the hell are you talking about? That is the sound of one of our listeners asking, "What the hell are you talking about, Dr. London?" Do you want me to explain?
Yeah, if you would.
Chores are little tasks, little things that you have to do, like doing your laundry or the dishes or whatever. Dr. London and I have unfortunately been neglecting our chores for quite a while because we were kind of busy watching Yellow Jackets was on and Station 11 was on. And there's a new Muppet. It's a secret Muppet that they're not letting you know about, but it has a really cool show that I can't even talk about. And me and Dr. Lynn have been watching that so much. The Secret Muppet Show.
Obsessively. Oh, yeah.
It is so...
Well, I don't want to talk
exactly,
about it.
Exactly, yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many secret Muppets in it. Anyway, we have neglected our chores, and so our to-do list has gotten so damn long. And so Dr. London and I invented this chore wheel that we spin every week, and whatever task it lands on, we kind of have to do it. And so,
and that's the rule of it. Yeah, we have to.
Even if it lands on Meet the Fockers, Dr. London, I know you hate doing that.
Well,
you got to meet them.
Meeting new people, especially in this day and age.
I
know I've kind of met them.
If it's the chore that it lands on, then we got to do it.
If it lands on it. Okay, do you want to,
Mr.
Bort,
Sampson, would you mind spinning our chore wheel and helping us out with this chore before you get going?
It'd be an honor.
Oh, wow, you're so happy now. You were so, accusatory before, but now just...
Well, there's chores involved. Do you understand how much us at the PAB love a good chore?
That's why I did not.
So you didn't even care...
We're taskmasters.
You didn't even care about, painting blood at like metal musician's house. You just cared about the painting part because it's like a chore.
We're gonna talk off mic about maybe once your apologies on, maybe we can cozy up in the sack business wise, and maybe we can sell some NFTs together.
Well, we can figure this out. No, if you can just jump up there real quick and just spin that bad boy.
Ready?
Oh no.
Oh. Okay. Well, this is.
I knew we'd have to do this eventually.
Yeah.
But we have to create menu items for the new Jock coffee shop. So we've been putting this off for a while. We bought this coffee shop space. Yeah. I want to say like it was like 96. We bought it was 96. It was a long time ago. But we have been sort of neglecting actually putting a menu together, putting together items. And so we have to do this because the grand opening is in 2 weeks. We bought the space in 96 and we said the grand opening is going to be in March of 2022. And
we also said we got it fully staffed back in 96. Yeah. We started paying the bill, like we got the electricity, everything going, water in 96. We started promoting it in 96. But now I think, as we said back then, we're almost ready.
We are almost ready, and we're 2 weeks away. But unfortunately, we don't have any items, drinks or food items or whatever. So, guys, if we want to dig Starbucks' grave, we got to come up with some. Mm-hmm. We got to put together a good menu. No, I'm gonna.
What about some of those fake viruses that you've been making up? You can use some of those fun names.
You're saying use the viruses they catch in the drinks we're making? That's interesting.
Oh, see, I almost had you. I almost got you to admit it.
We'd have a different inspector coming by for that one, I think.
You're tricky tricksters.
Possibly. So one thing about it, just to note, is that we picked the spot for the coffee shop back in 96. Since then, it has been surrounded by 6 different, and like this is all in the same block and across the street.
Yeah, 6 different really
specialty
large
coffee shops.
Yeah, 6 different specialty coffee shops guarded by like huge
and then also one
dudes
Starbucks
with swords.
Yeah.
So like they won't let us in to see what their menu items are, which has been very difficult for us. Yeah, because they know that we're trying to compete.
Can't.
Have you thought of for the catch for your coffee shop to maybe have like a theme? Like you ever heard of like a break room where people go to break things to let some stress out? Maybe your coffee shop, or have you ever been to a Dick's restaurant where like the staff's very rude to you?
Oh, they're like razzing
maybe part
you
of
the
your
whole
theme
time.
could be you get to go in there and be really awful to the staff and throw drinks at them.
Well, so I think I was leaning towards maybe something medical related just to tie it into the podcast, but people coming in and yelling at the doctors and throwing things at them, that sounds like a normal hospital experience. Is that right, Dr. London?
I was going to say, if you pay extra, you can throw some racial slurs in there as well.
Yeah. So maybe like as the customer, part of the experience is, yelling at you that you killed my wife because you refused to give her ivermectin or whatever. That's something that I get to do.
As you're getting your a latte, I can't even think of a good funny bone latte.
Yeah, so
that can make a menu.
It's like a reverse
instead of
Dick's Last Resort in that instead of the wait staff there harassing you, you as the customer are encouraged to sort of harass them. Yeah,
but they get to fight back, and hence the medical piece is when the injuries come in. You have your doctor, your urgent care next door.
So whenever they use these, so let's say use that example, you wouldn't give my wife ivermectin, so now she's dead. That could be the name of a drink, right?
Yes.
And then the response could be, instead of saying like, do you want, hot or cold? Do you want, how do you want that? You might say another thing in medical code, like we did everything we could. We were just following the science.
Yeah. And that's cream or sugar you're sort of asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and I think this particular drink would probably. Oh, let's see. My wife is dead because you didn't give her ivermectin. That sounds like a macchiato to me, with a little bit of sprinkle of cinnamon on the top. And,
I guess depending on the intonation, the sprinkles.
And I know.
We'd have to do that.
I know when talking about, I'm not a huge coffee expert, but I know people use the word drip a lot. So I assume all of this
Mhm.
is in an IV, right?
Obviously, yes.
Okay,
I was a barista before my time at the PAB, and so I can very much help you with all these things.
Okay, good.
No, yeah, I've always wanted to open a coffee shop where we got to assault each other, because I'm sure if anyone who's worked retail, you have fantasies of wanting to hurt people.
Yeah.
And now,
Mhm.
why not work them all together? So I think that macchiato of the my wife died because you didn't give her ivermectin was a
Like-
really good drink idea.
Macchiato IV drip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe-
So everyone's hooked up to IVs
Uh-huh.
when they come in, and if they struggle with that, then should that be a part of the experience as well? If they say like, "Wait, I don't think I want this," that seems invasive.
Well, that just sounds like a frappuccino to me.
Yeah, it's a frappuccino. So all they get is an unspoken frappuccino pulled over and hooked up to the IV.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Uh,
This sounds easy and fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, how about a plain drip like a plain cup of coffee would be called the "Go Back to Where You're From," the classic that the racists like to use, because so much of this coffee that we're selling is not actually from our
Mhm.
country. So we get to be insulting
yes.
while honoring the
And
heritage of the coffee.
educating.
That's
Yes.
right. Like, oh, I will go back to where I came from. Here's a nice cup of coffee brewed from Ethiopia. Brilliant.
Wow.
It's
So
brilliant.
much to learn in this coffee shop.
Wow. I hope. Well, see, I'm not the inspector at the coffee shop, so we get to run buck wild here. I don't have to be my normal button-up self here.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean, I'm hoping for we need like a food too. I think like a Starbucks
Oh,
will
that's
have
right.
like a couple breakfast items, like
a scone.
Like a scone,
Yeah, but
or
what's
a
like
cake pop.
what's like the scone of what's the doctor of bakery goods?
Oh, well, definitely. I would say a red velvet cupcake would be. I'm vomiting up blood. Would be how you get your red velvet cupcake.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So poison.
But instead of saying it, you actually have to. You either have to cough up real blood or bring your own blood capsules to really,
Or
well, I mean,
just say, go under the knife. How about that?
Oh, there it is.
Go under the knife is order a scone.
Order this red velvet cupcake that I believe
Sorry.
easiest
Order
thing
red
here
velvet
is just to poison it, right? And that way they do end up throwing it up and it looks like blood.
Oh, I like
Right,
that
'cause
too.
You do.
But
have
then
to
if you throw
follow-
up, you can
follow
eat
through.
more.
Oh yeah.
So again,
Yes.
we're making more money.
Yeah, and we're building a dedicated customer base. I'm really, really
Yeah,
happy
they're
with
gonna
that.
keep coming back.
Because they're so hungry
Yeah,
because they
they
didn't
are.
get to digest the stuff they had before.
You're going to be so hungry when you go to this and thirsty. Now,
They're gonna
instead of a
walk
cup of water, what would you call water? Could that just be urine? Is that too easy? Like we instead of like a glass of water, like I need a urine sample. Like, hi, I'd like a urine sample, please. And then you give them a glass of water, or should we save that for something like fancy, like like a cappuccino?
What if asking for
I like.
a glass of water is accusing the doctor of being a murderer, but you don't know who this person is or which case or which patient they're referring to? It's just someone sort of screaming and weeping that you're a murderer.
Yes,
Like, you murdered him, and that's a
good
glass
one.
of water.
That's a glass of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the murder
This
him.
is great. Yeah.
I think we need to have things that we accuse other staff members, like the RNs and the nurses, who are like steal. You have the nurse stole my wallet.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Yes, that's important.
Or we could do the "What do you know?" That's a classic thing you hear to
Yeah.
medical staff.
Yeah, just honestly,
Okay.
just being difficult every single step of the way is kind of the highest priority of the customer.
Yeah.
And everyone will have red hats.
Yeah, I think that's kind of red baseball hats. I think getting every customer who walks in, just so they're easier to identify, so you don't get confused who's a doctor and who's a patient.
Yes, of course. And they'll all be obviously we want these hats to be outsourced and made in like Malaysia, much like your Patreon feed. So I'm sure you'll have some connections there into that, and maybe some block letters that say like "Make coffee pretty okay again."
Mhm.
Yeah, because that implies that there was a sort of a better time that coffee once lived, and
And
we
there
can
was a
go
lot
back
better.
to
And
it.
there was never a better time for coffee than right now.
Yeah, but you can pretend that you need to go back to it, and that's sort of the trick. Now, okay,
You want to build on that pretending.
real
yeah.
quick, let's talk insurance. So, what insurances
Who needs it?
do we accept? Like, do we accept Medicaid or Medicare or exactly what? How does that all work? I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, for ordering food items, I'm gonna say Medicare, and then it really depends on the age group, maybe for the Medicaid.
Yeah.
Like
I think maybe a traditional HMO might be our best bet because we want to get those good high reimbursement rates.
Sure. Okay, that's true. I mean, ideally, we would just we'd go to single pay, single payer, and just get it all.
So a single
universal.
person in the cafe pays for everyone.
That's ideally, yeah.
That's how single payer works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then it's like one of these nod it or nose goes situations where like nose goes, everybody touches their nose.
Yeah.
And then you're good. So I think that'd be the most efficient way to do it, and that's kind of how insurance should work anyway. Is one person pays for everyone.
It's just whoever puts their finger to their nose last.
Well, whoever has the least amount of money will pay for it. Obviously, that's
or
how it should work.
Poorest reflexes, maybe is missing limbs.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we really.
I think we got it. We're good for the grand opening.
We could also offer people injections to get various made up viruses that you found.
Yeah, is that muffins or is that scones?
Yeah, they are made up viruses. I knew it.
Doctor,
this is all going to the IAB, motherfucker.
No, this can't.
You've been had.
This can't be true. This must be a lie, Dr. London. You showed me the viruses.
Yeah, and they talked to you, and then you guys hung out.
Yeah, but I was hanging out with ghosts. Like, what happened?
I leave you alone with them. Okay, you know what? I feel like this is being put too much on me, as if I'm the problem here. Really?
And the problem is
what we need to break it down to is Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons is the biggest issue.
Again, I don't want to get so political. That's gonna get us in trouble. And I don't want them. I'm just saying,
so Mr. Bort Sampson, that's who you should be investigating. Is Tim Hortons?
I'm gonna add that to my report.
But you know what? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get these viruses to go.
Okay.
Chomp on that wheel.
Oh, and look at them scurry and go.
And okay, they are doing too well. I'm glad that I'm taking care of this here, checking how they work here and now as opposed to later. Because that wheel is gone. There is no. We destroy the wheel every week, of course, because we have to. We take one off and then we have to rebuild it and add new chores, all that. But now that's done. Virus has destroyed it, and
chore is accomplished.
Here. So so thank you so much to Bort Sampson for coming in here and surprise inspecting us. I feel like everything's pretty up to snuff. Is there any way for listeners to follow you, hear more about you, or anyone you're a fan of?
Well, absolutely. So any of you out there, if you're listening to the podcast, don't be surprised if you see myself or our fellow inspectors showing up on there. A podcast that I actually have been listening to, I actually started as I had to inspect them as well for fraud, and they had to eventually give over their apology handwritten, and it was hard. But we actually, I hope it can happen to all of us, is we became quite good friends. So that podcast is called Let's Chat with Chris Revill. The host, he seems like an okay guy, bit of a liar if you ask me. But he interviews folks from the world of punk rock, the podcast world, and pop culture. And it's been a lot of fun. But like I said, I met him originally because he was doing some lies, so we had to get that formal written apology. But, maybe that could be us one day, and then we can start our businesses together. I hope there's no hard feelings. I'm just a simple civil servant who works for a mega corporation inspecting podcasts, and I needed to make a lot of money so I could have multiple homes. And I'm sorry if that encroached on your lifestyle, but I hope we could be friends.
Hey, honestly, I respect the hustle of going from working as a barista straight to a job that apparently supports multiple homes.
I don't.
That's pretty cool.
All right. So, thank you.
They're not big. Little homes.
Oh, they're okay.
Multiple
tiny
mini homes.
Okay. I guess that's better.
That's a little different, I guess.
More of a trailer, if we were being honest.
But more than one.
But I can connect them together to make like a big like hamster type deal. Like a maze, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to Bort Sampson. Thank you to our producer Cameron. Thank you to Did You Know the Host? turned on the hose. You wouldn't give my wife ivermectin, so now she's dead.
What the hell are you talking about?
My wife died because you didn't give her ivermectin.
You wouldn't give my wife ivermectin, so now she's dead. You wouldn't give my wife ivermectin, so now she's dead. So now she's dead. So now she's dead.